Amira and Aunt Nellie's cooking show. I'm Amira.
And I'm Aunt Nellie. And today, together, we're going to make
chocolate peanut butter snack bars. So I hope you enjoyed today's video and don't forget to like and subscribe.
The first thing we're going to do is talk about our 8 ingredients in this recipe. We're going to be using honey because this recipe requires a sticky liquid sweetener, so you don't want to use maple syrup or granulated sugar in this or the bars won't stick. We're going to use almond meal, which I normally buy already ground, but because I don't have any today, we're going to grind some sliced almonds, and we're going to be very careful when we do that so we don't make almond paste. And the next thing we're going to use is peanut butter, and I'm using the old-fashioned unsweetened version. A lot of commercial peanut butters already have sugar. You want to use the natural one since you're adding sweetener. And then we're going to use vanilla extract, and the majority or the main part of this recipe is 2 cups of salted peanuts, which we're going to roughly chop. And we're going to use some medjool dates, and instead of using the ones in the package that are already chopped and sometimes they have something on them to dry them out, you want to use these sticky medjool dates. The reason why they cost more money is they're very big and plump, and the origin of these dates, they come from North Africa, specifically like Morocco, and they've been around, they've been harvested for and cultivated for over 6,000 years, so one of the oldest cultivated fruits. Very popular in the Middle East. And we also are going to use mini chocolate chips, semi-sweet mini chocolate chips in this recipe, not the large ones. The mini ones work better in this to hold the bars together. And you might notice that this says Nestle Toll House. Amira, do you know why?
No, please inform us.
So Nestle Toll House dates back to 1938 when a woman named Ruth Graves, who owned the Wakefield Toll House Inn in 1938, took a chocolate bar, chopped it into pieces, and threw it into cookie dough and baked what we now know as the first Toll House chocolate chip cookie. So Nestle maintained the name from that. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Okay, and then finally, to decorate the bars, this is an optional item, but Amira and I love chocolate, so we have Baker's semi-sweet chocolate, which we're going to melt and use to kind of make a zigzag pattern on the cooled bars just to make them look pretty. So the next step we're going to do is Amira is going to grind the almonds. Let's go, Amira.
So here we have some almonds, and what I'm about to do is I'm about to grind it into almond meal. Now, what we have to make sure of is that we don't want to grind it too much because then it will become almond paste. So we're about to grind it right now. All right, so I'm going to pour the almonds in. And now I'm going to put on the cover, and we're going to grind until it becomes a meal.
How does it look?
Looks good.
Perfect. That's great.
All right, so now what we're gonna do is we are going to chop our dates. So here's how you're gonna do it. You're gonna hold the front part of your knife down and you're just gonna rock back and forth like this. All right, so you're kind of gonna go like tic-tac-toe, like in a grid form. So you're gonna do that, and for me, I'm a beginner, so I'm not gonna go very fast because, you know, it might be easier to go fast, but we don't wanna risk cutting ourselves.
Our next step is to roughly chop our salted peanuts. And so it's 2 cups. I'm going to demonstrate. This can get a little messy. You want to take your knife and you want to hold your knife down like Amira talked about, the rocking technique. And you don't want to lift it too much. And you want to kind of keep, now this is a small cutting board, so they're kind of flying all over the place. But you see how I have control of my knife. What you don't want to do is hack. You want to rock like this. So you have control of the knife and you have some control over the peanuts. And you just want to roughly chop these enough. You want to make them so that there's no whole pieces of peanut. So that's the goal.
So here's what we're gonna do. Right here, I've got some mini chocolate chips, and I'm going to pour them in the 1/3 cup. So I'm just gonna pour them in. Make sure you go slow so you don't, empty the entire bag.
Do you think you need to taste it to see if they're fresh?
I think I'll wait.
Okay, there, I'll take that.
Alright, so now we're gonna pour them in the bowl with our chopped peanuts and chopped dates. So, pretty straightforward. Alright, now the fun part. You get to mix all these delicious ingredients.
Now that Amira has mixed the chunkier ingredients, I'm going to do the other half of the ingredients, which are more liquid and soft. So first of all, we're going to put in 1/3 cup of honey. And so if you ever buy honey, interesting to note, sometimes you'll see it'll say orange blossom, it'll say clover leaf, it'll say manuka. Basically, honey is named after which flower the bees pollinate. So that's where they get the name. And you can actually smell the differences. Orange blossom smells a lot different than clover honey. So that's 1/3 cup of honey, and now we're going to put our 1/3 cup of almond meal that Amira ground. And like she said, you want to make sure your almond meal is meal and not paste. If you keep grinding too much, you're going to get almond butter, essentially, which we like, but we don't want that in this recipe. And then we're going to do 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. There we go. Oops, I got a little on the tablecloth. And then finally, a tablespoon of peanut butter. And again, I'm using the old-fashioned, not Jif or anything like that with added sugar, because we already have sweetener in here and that would throw off the taste. So now that I have it, I'm going to check and make sure I have all the right ingredients. And I'm going to stir this up. And we're going to make it a nice binding. This is what's going to bind the other ingredients. So you want to stir it up like this. You can see it's forming a sticky paste. And that's necessary for our next step when we combine all the ingredients and press them in the pan.
The next step is to mix all of the ingredients thoroughly, and then after that, we're gonna put it in the press.
Now that Amira has stirred up all the ingredients, we're going to put it in our 8x8 glass dish, and it's lined with parchment paper, and you can see that I have flaps on here. And Amira, do you know why I have flaps on here?
No, please explain.
Well, that way when they're done baking, we can lift them out to cut them. It's much easier to cut bars and brownies, and you can lift them out on a cutting board and cut them that way. So that's why, and also it won't stick. So I'm going to take this sticky stuff here, turn off the fan so my parchment paper doesn't keep flying around, and we're going to dump it in here. And it's very important, this is a very important step, because again, the success of these bars depends on everything sticking together. We don't want them to fall apart. So what you want to do is you want to evenly press it. And I'm just using my fingers. If you don't want to use your fingers, you don't have to, but my hands are washed, and I'm just one of these cooks who likes to use their fingers. So as you can see, I'm trying to make sure too that it's all pressed evenly out to the corners. Now, one of the things you can do when you have something like this sticking is you can get some water and put some water on your hand so it won't stick. So I'm going to finish this up and then put it in the oven.
Now that you can see that it's firmly pressed, we're going to put it in a 300-degree oven for 20 minutes. So we're going to put it on the top shelf here. Just going to shove it in.
I'll put the timer on.
She'll put the timer on. There you have it. All right, everybody, we are back. What are we gonna do now?
Well, the bars have been chilling for 1 hour in the refrigerator, so they're cool enough now. We're going to melt some chocolate and make a pretty pattern on top and let that harden, and then they're ready to eat. So Amira, to make this easier to melt the chocolate, can you chop up some of this? As you can see, it's in a bunch of little blocks. Just chop it up on the lines and throw it in there.
Oh, might want to turn off the fan.
You want to start again?
No, it's fine.
Are we still on? You can cut that.
All right, so we're gonna cut our chocolate along the lines.
And you can use the knife, press it down with your weight, and you'll hear a snap. There you go. That's good. You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. It's just surprising.
It's easier to melt the chocolate when it's in smaller pieces. Now when you melt chocolate, you can either melt it on a double boiler, which means chocolate in a pot, and then under the pot is some warm water or steaming water, or you can do it in a microwave. If I'm doing a lot of melted chocolate for truffles, I'll do it in the double boiler. But since we're not using a lot for this recipe, we're just going to do it in a microwave. Now you don't want to over microwave this or it will seed or split and it won't be smooth. Okay, Mary, you got this. And while she's doing that, we're going to talk about how we're going to put this on the bars. So Amira made this wonderful parchment paper cone. And what you do is you put the melted chocolate in there and then you snip the tip, and that's how you can design this, and then you can just toss it when you're done and you don't have a bad cleanup. Okay, you ready to melt? Let's go. Right, fill this jar. The next part will be me in the cone. Okay, we're back, and while we were behind the scenes here, my kitchen helper here is currently licking the bowl of chocolate that we melted in the microwave. There she is. So while she's indulging over there, I'm going to show you. As you can see, we filled our paper parchment cone with chocolate, and I'm going to cut. You don't want too much. You want just enough to make a nice zigzag pattern. I'm going to test it here. That's perfect. And you want to work fast with this because you don't want it to harden. So Amira, do you have this in the shot?
Yeah.
Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go one way. I'm going to go up and down, just kind of zigzag. And I love these paper cones because if you use something else like a plastic one, then you have to wash it out. So there's part one. And now I'm going to go the opposite way and get all the way to the edge and use all that chocolate I can. And I wonder if Uncle John, my husband, I made a mistake. Some of it's coming out. Will want to eat the rest. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I got a little bit messy there in the middle. I'm going to clean that up. And that's it. So there you go. I'm going to clean that blob up. We're going to put this back in the refrigerator for about 15 minutes and then we'll cut.
Hey everybody, we're back.
Hi. So this is the best part. We're going to lift the bars out, cut them, and sample. And I think Amira is going to sample for us. She's the chocolate expert. So I'm going to get a cutting board, and here's the bars. And because we used the parchment paper, this one side is a little sticky. It should lift. They're still a little bit soft, but as you can see, it's much easier to cut them with the parchment. Now, when you're cutting something and you want to make them even, what you want to do in a square like this is you want to cut it in the middle. And these definitely should be kept in the refrigerator because it's too warm out today. They'll get too soft. And then you want to cut this in half because you want the bars even. You don't want one person to have a huge piece and another person to have a small piece. Okay, so we cut it that way, and now we're going to cut it this way. It's hard to see this too because this has lines in it. And this way. It should yield about 16 bars, and I think it does. And so now what we're going to do, because these are very sticky, here's a sample. We're going to individually wrap them, and I'm going to give my taste tester, Amira, a sample. How are they, Amira? Are they good?
Terrible. Just kidding. They're amazing.
That's it from our show. Please subscribe and like our channel.